Yeah, hello. So in this lesson, we are going to learn how to finish up the granny square and also sew the squares together. I have a blue square here and I have the white square. So what I'm going to do at this moment, just made, I've just made my slip stitch to close up this round. The next thing I'll do is to make a chain, and I'm going to cut off this yarn. So I've cut off the yarn after making the chain, and I'm going to release the yarn this way. So I have a knot made, and that ends my granny square. Now the next thing we're going to learn here is how to join the granny squares together. The first rule in joining the granny square is to make sure that you have the same number of spaces. So in this square there are 3, 1, 2, 3. This square there are 3, 1, 2, 3 in between the corners. In between the corners, this is the corner, this is the corner. I have 3 spaces. 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, and 1, 2, 3 in between the corners. The same thing here. I have 3 spaces. 1, 2, 3. This is the corner. 1, 2, 3. This is a corner. 1, 2, 3. This is a corner. So I have 3 spaces in between the corners. So that's one rule. The next rule is when you're joining the granny square, make sure you're joining wrong side to wrong side. So this is the wrong side, and this is the wrong side of the granny square. The wrong sides, the stitches are usually not too smooth. The right side, you see the stitches are smoother. This is the wrong side, and that's why I actually have my string. The same thing with here. The wrong side, this is the wrong side, and this is the right side. The wrong side is not as smooth as the right side. So the first thing is to make sure you're placing the wrong side to the wrong side. So this is the wrong side here, this is the wrong side here. The next is to make sure that you have equal number of spaces. So I have 3 spaces in between my square, my blue square, and in between the corners of my blue square, and I have 3 spaces in between the corner of my white square. So that shows that they are the same number of spaces, and I can sew them together. So the first thing is to make sure the first corner where you want to sew for it's corresponding with the first corner of the second one. So the first corner of the blue one is corresponding with the first corner of the white one from where I'm starting. The next thing is to get a yarn that it's one of the colors of the granny square. So the yarn I'm using now is the blue yarn because the granny square is blue and white. So the next step is to go into the middle of that corner. So I'm bringing my crochet into the middle of this corner for both of them, and I'm bringing in my yarn, my wool from there. So I remove that, and I'm going to make a knot. So invariably I've joined the corners together. Now henceforth I'll be joining the sides with what we call the single crochet stitch. So here I am. I've made my knot to secure the 2 sides, and then I'm going to go into the same space bring in my yarn over, and release the loop. That is with a single crochet stitch. The next thing is I'm going to look at the corresponding stitch to that space. This is the corresponding stitch. I'm going to go put my crochet hook into that, and it should also be on the corresponding stitch of the blue. Now if you notice, I'm not doing it on the stitches, I'm doing it on the space in between the two stitches, So I'm going to bring this in and make my single crochet again. I want to yarn over before I go into the corresponding stitch. So I'm going to the next one, and I'm bringing in the loop. I'm yarning over, and I'm releasing the two loops. So now the next one is the space here. So I'm going into this space, I'm bringing in the loop, single crochet again. Remember, with the single crochet, you don't yarn over before you bring in the loop. So I release the loop. Again, I go to the next one and look out for the corresponding stitch at the back. Bring in my yarn over, and release the two loops. I go into the next one, make sure I have it's going through a corresponding stitch from the blue. So I bring in my yarn, I bring in my yarn again, and I do my single crochet. Again, I go into the space, there's the next one with the corresponding one at the back. I bring in the loop, and I have my single crochet. So I go into the next one here, I bring in my loop as always, and I do my single crochet. I go into the next one. Like I said, always remember that you don't yarn over before you go into the space, into the stitches. It's afterwards you yarn over and you release the loops. So you're doing single crochet throughout. Some people call this blanket stitches. Again, I go into the space, bring in this loop. I go into this space, this small yarn is in the way. So I bring in the loop, then I yarn over and I release the loop. So I have two more to go. I go into this one with the corresponding one at the back, bring in the loop, yarn over, release the two loops. I go into this one again, bring in the loop, yarn over, release the two loops. I go into the last loop, which is the space in the corner, in the corner at the other side. I bring in the loop, I yarn over, and I release the two loops. Now at this point, I've been able to stitch two granny squares together. To complete the stitch, I'll just make a chain again, like I did when I completed the round for the granny square itself. I just make a chain and I cut it off, then I release the yarn and I make it makes a knot. So like that, I've been able to complete the sewing of the granny square. We can now see the right side. This is the wrong side. Remember, we're sewing on the wrong sides. You can now see. With this, you will see that they are both, I mean, you can just see the stitches. And that's why you should always use one of the colors of the two granny square that you're sewing together. Hopefully, we'll be able to sew more granny square with this, and you'll be able to make blanket. Thank you. Have a good day.